Thank you everybody for joining us again here at White One Auto. And what we have here is a 1978 Malibu. Has a small block Chevy in it, 400. The coolant is mixing with the oil. The engine is gone. It has mechanical damage with it. We're not going to tear it down to figure out exactly what is wrong with it on this video, because we are putting a carbed LS in it. So the first step is to get this engine out and then prepare it for our LS swap, a carbureted LS swap. The engine is pretty much already assembled. We have it over here in short block form. We still have to do the cylinder heads to match the valve springs so that they can be set up for the aftermarket camshaft that's in here. So once we get our heads completed, then we will put that engine inside the car. But while we're waiting on our heads to be done, we will remove the old small block. So let's do that. So this is the spark plug out of cylinder 7. This is how it came out. And then I also want to show you, this is what the oil filter looks like, because we had to pull the oil filter off to get our header off. So that's what the contents of the engine oil look like. So hopefully we do get a chance to tear this thing down and rebuild it. But it is I believe it's a stock block 400. So hopefully it doesn't have a cracked cylinder wall. It's probably just got a bad head gasket, hopefully. So I just wanted to update you, everyone, with those. So our engine bay is empty. We kept our power steering pump over here. We aren't going to use this pump, but we're going to leave it hooked up so we lose as little fluid as possible. It's got a turbo 400. It's a rebuilt like a TCI transmission with a torque converter that has a anti-ballooning plated on it. So I'm happy with that. So let me go over and show you our engine. So this is our small block here. It's supposed to be a 400. So let's look at it. Wait. So these casting numbers are not for a 400. I believe 3970010. I think it's just a regular small block. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't take this thing on trade, because I was told the car had a 400 and I never checked it out. I offered a guy an offer to take it in on trade and he refused it. So I'm glad for me, because I was going off his word like he thought it was a 400. But you can see somebody has recently rebuilt it. He's only owned this car for a few months before the engine blew up. But you could see somebody's put, I believe those are ARP studs. Yeah, it says ARP on there. It's got ARP studs on here. A Moroso oil pan. I'm pretty sure it's a Speedmaster intake. YN aluminum pump and a scat balancer. So maybe it has a scat rotating assembly in there. Only time will tell if we do get this thing torn down. So this is the bad engine. Like I say, cylinder 7, that spark plug that we pulled out of there was all mangled up. And everyone was able to see how the oil looked out of the oil filter, and the coolant oil was just mixing. So we're gonna prep this thing for our small block, for our LS, and keep it moving. So we are all done with our Malibu. This is how it looks in its final rendition when it's leaving the shop. It is ready to leave. There are two things that I would still like to do to the car. I would like to completely redo the exhaust and upgrade the rear end, but I can let you hear it. She is all wrapped up. So you see, we got our Dakota digital working. All our gauges work. We need some fuel in here. So this thing is wrapped up, and I will get a picture of the owner leaving in it. A video of the owner leaving in it. Hopefully he can get a little bit active in it. So we have our Malibu back in the shop. The owners took it and put some miles on it. He should have put 500 miles on it because we got to check it out. And then let's check the mileage. So when it left, it had 77,934. Let's see what the current mileage is. So 78,564. So that is good. So hit the G-body hood tap. That's what we need. So our whole goal to doing our 500 mile check is to physically check over the car very well. The owner, when he dropped it off, he didn't have any complaints. He said everything seemed to be going fine for him. So that is good. So what we would do is physically look over the whole car. Just check everything, make sure nothing's rattled loose or anything like that, and as well as check for leaks. And we will change the engine oil and oil filter and make sure that the engine oil looks good. So the car is cold, so we'll start by taking off our radiator cap. And our coolant level looks good there. So it's not dropped. It hasn't dropped down real low, so it doesn't appear that we are using any type of coolant. Everything over here looks okay. We will take a wrench and put it on all of our header bolts to make sure none of them have backed out. But I'm just quickly looking over the car. Let me go grab a flashlight. So we'll go and look with our flashlight. Everything looks okay. We don't see any leaking around our carburetor. Let me grab a fender cover. So continue to look around here. Everything looks okay from up top here. We don't see any signs of fluid leaks or anything. So everything looks okay. So we'll raise the car up and look underneath. So let us start looking underneath. And one thing I always like to see is you can see where the cross member is, and see our oil pan is not hanging below the cross member. That is one of the major benefits you get from using a Holley swap oil pan. They really fit very nice in G and A bodies. This is the 302-2 oil pan. So let us keep looking. I know we fixed a transmission leak while it was here. It had a pan that was leaking pretty bad. So the pan gasket is holding up well. That is fixed. We will take a look at our engine. Everything still looks nice and clean here. We don't see any leaking from our power steering system. Our water pump, this does have a set of spacers on it, if you can see in there. And when we do the spacers, we put 2 sets of metal, either Fel-Pro or GM gaskets. I really like for the LSs to use the metal framed gaskets with the rubber O-rings in them as opposed to the fiber gaskets. Power steering system looks good. There's no leaking there. Front seal is good. Pretty much, you don't really have too many leaking out of LSs on our low mileage ones. In trucks, I tend to see a lot of leakage, but that's just because they probably got 200 or 300,000 miles that nobody's really taking care of. So thermostat housing isn't leaking. So everything's looking good there. Our T for our Dakota digital gauge, no leaking there. Back here at the rear main seal, no leaking. Back here at the cover, no leaking. We also fixed a leak back here at the rear pinion seal. So we just put new bearings and new seals, a new front pinion seal, and put new bearings in the rear axle and just resealed the cover that he had. So this isn't leaking. Our oil drain, start draining our engine oil, and this is a Wix oil filter, just the sticker has came off. So we will start draining fluid. I thought I was recording, but I wasn't. So we've loosened our oil filter. We're gonna let our oil filter drain. And then once our oil filter is finished draining, we'll take it open and cut it open. And everything should look good on the inside of there. So now what we're gonna do is do our oil filter inspection. Where we're gonna do. Okay, so we got our cover off. I did have to go get some tin snips to cut it off because when you cut it, you don't want to add extra material into the filter. You just want the filter to stand on its own as to what is happening in the engine. So I'm trying to zoom in a little bit here so you guys can see. This is what the inside of this thing looks like. I don't see any bearing material, no shinies in here. Everything looks good. So there is a zinc additive in here. I put it in here for the first 500 miles. And after we broke the engine in, I did not change the oil. So you will get some like thicker grease that is in there. And that comes from your assembly lube. So I am happy with the way this filter looks. So what we are going to do is we will put a new Wix oil filter on here, some regular 5W30 oil, and let this thing go back out onto the road. So I'll check back in after we get the new oil and oil filter on, and that's what we have. You can see how the oil looks down here. There's no real grit or anything. This, where's that? This little plastic piece here is just a top from this right here, from when I was trying to remove the filter material out of the canister that holds the filter material for the oil filter. So remember, you want to start with a clean drain pan so you can see if anything is in there. You can see it. So I'm happy with this. There's a little bit of condensation in there, but that's normal. So this thing is ready to go back. So we can put this, so like I said, we will get some fresh oil, fresh filter, and put this thing back in service. So we got a new Wix oil filter on there. Our drain plug is tight. So we are going to let this thing down and fill it up with oil. So we just put our last quarter oil in. We're just using a 5W30 Dexos grade oil. This thing still has a roller camshaft in it, roller lifters. So that's all that's necessary. So we'll start it up, let it build oil pressure, and then check the level. Said we had 40 pounds of oil pressure. Take the dipstick out. Remember, always try to lubricate these little O-rings up here. Just put a little bit of oil on, or any type of lubrication. That will work fine. Stick this thing back in and check it. Always on a nice clean dipstick, it's kind of hard to see, but that's where we're at. So you can see our oil level was like way up there. So I'll do it again for you. So this is a Holley Swap oil pan. We are using their dipstick and their dipstick tube. So we're all set there. So this thing is ready to go back on the road. I'll give everybody a shot of oil pressure. From our nice Dakota digital dash. Idling about 500-600. So this thing is complete, everybody. Thank you for watching along, following the process. So what it started out was a small block. We were told it had a 400 in it. After we got it out, we determined it was a 350. It was something really bad on number 7. I believe that spark plug had some actual physical damage to it. So I believe that sometime in the near future, we are going to rebuild that engine for his other car. So hopefully we get to see that. But this is just our basic rebuilt 60505 package. We guarantee that this thing will get you at least 505 horsepower on the dyno. So it's a 6.0, completely rebuilt, 243 heads, all of the appropriate valve train. And we can do this carbureted or fuel injected. So thank you very much for everybody watching, liking, and subscribing. Please continue to. White One Auto out.